I'll begin on this article. Wilson Carl, 1827 to 1897, was a 53 immigrant and a Yamhill County pioneer. Being 26 when he crossed the plains, it's surprising that he was not married with several children. He was a bright, energetic young man who early in life had to make his own way. His adolescent years were difficult. At age 10, he lost his father. A year later, his mother, and his major concern was survival. His parents were Jacob F. and Eliza Wilson Carl. Both were natives of New Jersey. Desiring to improve their lot, they, with their 9 children, moved to Ohio. Within 3 years, both parents were dead. Life would be difficult from then on, so Wilson and the other children were scattered among their mother's relatives. After a trip to Oregon, he lost complete track of his family. He did not waste his teenage years. He became skilled in both shoemaking and carpentry and worked in those jobs for 15 years before he caught Oregon fever. For some reason, he was determined to go to Multnomah County. He arrived with the clothes on his back and willing hands. A friend, Dr. Joel Knight, who took Wilson under his wing, saw that he reached Portland safely. The whole area was in a building frenzy, so he soon had a carpentry job in Milwaukie, Oregon. By 55, this rugged pioneer realized Yamhill County was the place for him. He immediately found a job in Amity, building a house for Solomon Allen. The McMinnville College Board of Trustees, seeing his skill, hired him. Wilson Carl built the 2 70-foot wings of the college located at First and Cowles. Getting established. The next year, he asked pioneer Jonathan Stout for his daughter Mary Jane's hand in marriage. A native of Noble County, Ohio, we believe she was an immigrant on that first wagon train in 1843. During the first 2 years of their marriage, Wilson continued his carpentry trade while he and Mary Jane lived on Sebastian Adams' farm. This farm was just south of Carlton. Soon after, they purchased this property and settled into farming. However, Mary Jane became ill. They sold the farm and went to California for a while. It wasn't long before they returned to Yamhill County to be near her family. By now, Wilson acquired substantial resources, enough to buy 256 acres of prime farmland 7 northwest of McMinnville. He worked this farm for 30 years, doubling its size and concentrating on hay and grain. He also was very interested in stock and acquired Clydesdale horses and Durham cattle. The Carls' home was an ideal spot for overnighters going to the coast. It became known as the Mountain House and was a regular stop for the stage. In 68, Wilson was appointed postmaster of Mountain House and served in that capacity for 3 years. In 1872, the railroad had been built between Portland and St. Joe. Wilson Carl got tired of hauling his products clear to St. Joe, so convinced the railroad company to make a flag stop closer to his ranch. The change was welcomed by the farmers in the area, and soon the train was stopping almost every trip at what was called Carl's Stop by the railroad. A depot was built, and it officially became Carlstown, then Carlton, in 1876, the same year as the United States Centennial. The 1880 census showed 72 people living in Carlton. naming the area. Being aware now of why Carlton was named Carlton, we realize how many Yamhill County towns were given hometown names, such as McMinnville, W.T. Newby, Tennessee, Lafayette, Joel Perkins, Indiana, Dayton, Christopher Taylor, Ohio, and Newburgh, the postmaster, Germany. Others were named for significant people like Sheridan, Phil Sheridan, Carlton, Wilson Carl, and Wilhelmina River after a lovely lady, Wilhelmina Maley, in 1845 emigrant. Lafayette was once known as Yamhill Falls, and of course Yamhill was named after Yamhill County, which came from the Yamhill tribe. That's two words, Yam and then Hill tribe. The name Amity has an interesting origin. The story comes from the book Old Yamhill by Ruth Stoller and others. It seems that Ahio Watt, that's A-H-I-O, Ahio Watt, immigrant of 43 and Joseph Watt's brother, was the key player in this drama. As he was packing to go to California goldfields, a group of residents in the area, including Dr. Johnson, Jerome Whaling, Enoch Garrison, and Solomon Allen, asked Ahio to give up his trip and start a school. These people had their own idea of where the school should be located, not wanting their children to walk very far, and a school near their place would increase the value of their property. For some time they had been unable to agree upon the location of the school. Well, Ahio sold them. He would stay if they would come up with an agreeable compromise and build it right away. So not wanting Mr. Watt to get away, they put their heads together and immediately set about building the school. Because of the amiable behavior of these men, Ahio Watt decided to name the school Amity School, thus Amity, Oregon. Back to the Carls, Wilson and Mary Jane had 4 sons to carry on the Carl name. William was a contractor in Carlton for several years before moving to Garibaldi. George had a car repair business in Carlton, and Edwin farmed the home place after his father's death. This place stayed in the family and became one of Yamhill County's century farms. In 1959, the only son to leave the area was A.W., which is Allen. He purchased a farm in Washington State. From Hines' book, History of Oregon, we find this tribute to Wilson Carl. The years of toil and hardships before emerging into the ways of prosperity have told on Mr. Carl. His life, however, has been eminently successful both as regards financial matters and also with regards to enjoying the esteem of his fellow men. Anyway, that's the end of that article.